He will be a president who refuses to be trapped in the patterns of the past.
It's a Texas-sized proposal, the Trans-Texas Corridor, I-69, a combination of rail lines, utility lines, car and truck lanes, which will be the width of 3 football fields laid end to end, 3 times wider than a typical interstate.
President Bush, former Mexican President Vicente Fox, and former Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin conceived the Security and Prosperity Partnership between the 3 countries in 2005. A summit is scheduled in Canada later this summer to flesh out more details, but current information on any agreements is scarce.
And many say it's all for the good of multinational corporations.
Watch is to be congratulated for its diligence in digging these new documents up. And I really want to hear from the snarky little left wing who deny that there's such a thing as the SPP and the plans and part of this administration, that of the Mexican government and the Canadian government to go ahead with the North American Union. Because I think the snarky little darlings are about to awaken to the error of their ways.
There's documentation.
It's unbelievable.
I don't think that there's some conspiracy to create this one, continental government between Canada and Mexico. I see no evidence of that. All right?
What did you make of that story? For those who don't know this, so Lynn Cheney, the vice president's wife, has been doing some genealogy connected to her latest book, and lo and behold, way back, 8 generations ago,
8 generations or
you
something.
and Mr. Cheney apparently have some distant relative. What did you make of that story when it came out?
I actually knew about it. Because
He understands what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called the fierce urgency of now. I remember another such time in the 1960s when I came to the Senate at the age of 30. We had a new president who inspired the nation, especially the young, to seek a new frontier. Those inspired young people marched, sat in at lunch counters, protested the war in Vietnam, and served honorably in that war even when they were opposed to it. Tough-minded. But he also has an uncommon capacity to appeal to the better angels of our nature. I'm proud to stand with him here today and offer my help, offer my voice, offer my energy, my commitment to make Barack Obama the next president of the United States.
Dollar drop. We're coming into a cyclical bottom for gold, and it rises going into December, January, so that might be the reverse of the dollar fall. Apart from that, I think one thing people who are dollar-based need to focus on is the Amero. That's the one thing that nobody's talking about, but I think it's going to have a big impact on everybody's life in Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. If you Google it, you'll find out all about it.
Well, you could tell us a little bit more right now.
You always hear it on CNBC. The Amero is the proposed new currency for the North American community, which is being developed right now between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico to make a borderless community, much like the EU, and the dollar, Canadian dollar, U.S. dollar, and the Mexican peso replaced by the Amero.
Known as the NAFTA Superhighway. You know, that thing that Washington doesn't really want to admit is happening in this country. At town hall meetings across the state of Texas, Texans voicing angry opposition to that proposed highway, a highway intended to cut from Mexico through Texas all the way to Canada.
is scarce.
The Security and Prosperity Partnership will deliver neither security nor prosperity for the simple reason that it's not so far been democratic. Most of the discussions have been taking place behind closed doors.
The work plan states the establishment of a grant fund for development with U.S. and Canadian resources to finance the development of physical infrastructure in Mexico.
First of all, I'm not the Council on Foreign Relations. I don't know if I'm an official member. I've spoken there before. It basically is just a forum where a bunch of people talk about foreign policy, and so there's nothing. There's no official membership. I don't have a card.
Even the pros like Valdez are shocked by what's happened.
I've never seen markets like this. I've never thought I'd see the day when there's no more Merrill Lynch. I've never thought I'd come in and see Lehman and Merrill both gone in the same weekend. So things are really monumental down here. They're really historical what's going on down here.
Bandwagons and say, you know, to hell with the corporate executives, let's, you know, burn them all. Listen, we live in a capitalist society. These guys, just because they made a bunch of dough before these companies went bankrupt or went out of business, doesn't make them criminals.
We will look seriously with our allies and bilaterally at the consequences of this Russian action for Russian integration into these institutions.
Well, can I make an observation? I believe that during the early 80s or middle 80s, with reference to the 1983 on Contragate, there was such a session.
when?
83.
On what?
Contragate. As you know.
Iran-Contra?
1983. There was also a secret session in 1979 and in 1980. So there have been three of these. They were in recent years, but it's obviously been a long.
Of this neglect, with Russia challenging the very freedom of the new democratic country of Georgia. Barack and I will end that neglect. We will hold Russia accountable for its actions, and we will help the people of Georgia rebuild.
Wasn't for the help of Russian troops, Amanda says.
They helped us out a lot, and they came when we really needed help. So I just want to say thank you to them.
A part of Amanda's story that the American media has repeatedly left out. Upon her return to the United States, she and her aunt Laura gave several interviews, including this live appearance on Fox News.
I want you to know to whom to blame on this conflict. That's Mr. Saakashvili, who started this war, and Mr. Saakashvili, who is aggressor, and 2,000 people were killed in one day. And that's what I am against.
I would never cut you off. Unfortunately, a commercial break will take us there in 4 seconds, whether we like it or not.
I know that you don't want to hear that.
I'll be right back with you.
On the good ship, lollipop, it's a sweet trip to a candy shop where bonbons play.